What's up, guys and gals? My name is Eclepid, and I'm
And
here
I'm
with Matt.
Hey there.
I'm John, and we're going back into some Umineko. When we last left off, some roughness.
Yeah, I think we just called it straight 100% concentrated depression.
It was very, very depression. So,
Hopefully there's not more of that, but I don't really have a lot of hope for that.
well, we'll see. Uh,
ウリュウ、マリア、返事して。ウリュウ、やっぱり僕はぬいぐるみなの？布と綿でできてるから喋れるわけないのだから、マリアとはおしゃべりできないの？
Sakutaro looked up at Maria sadly. Maria's face was covered with tears, and she looked as though even she had lost the emotion of sadness.
聞こえてるよ、サクタロウ。サクタロウは布と綿でできたぬいぐるみなんかマリアのお友達だよ。返事なんか嫌い。ウリュウ、マリアごめんね。マリアごめんね。ウリュウ。
Sakutaro felt regret. By freezing her heart, Maria had been finally able to escape from her sadness. By speaking up and calling her back, he had caused her to become overwhelmed with sadness again. Sakutaro tried toddling up to Maria and hugging her and then letting go, gazing at her appearance uneasily and trying it again, lost as to how he could bring Maria's spirits up. He might have looked a little humorous doing that. As a result, that was able to divert Maria's feelings from sadness.
ごめんね。もう泣いても仕方ないもんね。エンジェとは喧嘩しちゃったけど、マリアにはまだたくさん友達がいるよ。僕だけじゃない。みんなもいるよ。サクスケもサク吉も動物の音楽隊も。
Maria looked at the many stuffed animals around her pillow, which were gathered together as though they were having a conference.
みんな
A family
マリアの
conference?
こと心配してるよ。どうしたらマリアが元気になってくれるかなってずっと相談しているよ。みんなはエンジェみたいにいなくならない？ならないよ。僕たちはいつだって一緒だよ。
How does... So if this is happening real time, like when Maria's actually young, how did she know about the Angie of 14 years later?
What do you mean?
Like, this is from Maria's perspective, right? And she's talking about how Angie left her.
Mm-hmm.
The Angie of 14 years later left her. Right?
Right, not this 6-year-old Angie that she knew.
But this is 14 years back in the past, a real time. Right?
Yeah,
This is Maria as a child. So how does Maria as a child know about Angie leaving her? Her dead spirit.
oh, I'm not sure.
Do you see what I
That's kind of
mean?
hard to, yeah,
Something
kind of
funky's
hard to
going
wrap your
on.
head around.
本当にサクタロたちは家でしか一緒じゃないよ。ママと一緒にお出かけできないし、学校にも一緒に行けないよ。僕たちは学校に行っちゃいけないから。先生に見つかったら怒られちゃうもん。
Because if this is still Angie reading the journal about Maria's past, she's reading about Maria meeting Angie of 14 years old. Or 14 years later, or 12 years later, or whatever.
Right.
Which would be weird. Anyways, sorry.
でも、
It's
見
okay.
つからないならいつだって
having
一緒
trouble
にいていい
processing
んだよ。
that.
サクタロウ、大きいから見つかっちゃうね。だったら小さくて持ち歩ける子と一緒に行けばいいよ。例えば、ほら、森の音楽隊の仲間たちなら、ほら、小さいからマリアのポケットに隠れて一緒に学校に行けるよ。音楽隊いっぱいいるよ。ポケットに入りきらないよ。
She gathered all of the forest band pieces that were scattered across her bed. There were about as many of them as pieces in a chess set, so it would probably be impossible to fit them all in her pocket.
なら特に仲良しのお友達だけを連れて行くといいよ。森の音楽隊の中で一番マリアと仲良しのウサギの4人組を連れてくといいよ。4つならポケットに入る。これなら見つからないね。だからマリアはこれで学校でも一人ぼっちじゃないよ。僕が一緒に行けないところでもこの子たちなら一緒にいてくれるよ。なら寂しくないかも。お家に帰ってくるまで我慢できるかも。ママと先生にさえ見つからなければ僕たちはいつだって一緒にいられるんだよ。そしていつまでも一緒にいよう。遊んでいよう。僕たちはマリアを絶対に一人ぼっちになんかさせないから。
Death flags.
Yeah. It's definitely not gonna happen.
Mario's expression finally regained a little bit of its brightness. That's right. Thinking about it, my world didn't start out with Angie in it. Even without Angie, everyone was together and it was fun. So it's weird to suddenly get sad just because Angie's gone when she was the last to come in. All that's happened is that I've returned to the world right before Angie entered it. So there's nothing to be sad about.
Huh.
寂しくないよ。
You know, what if Maria actually did imagine an Angie of 12 years later, when she was a child, and playing with future Angie?
That it was just all in her head.
Well, okay, this is we're actually back. We're following Maria's childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my question at first...
Or is she... Did Sakutaro become, like, a physical being that can talk before she became a witch? Or what they showed us to be her becoming a witch? Does that make sense? Like, was Sakutaro just a stuffed animal up until she became a witch? Or did she always imbue it with a soul?
I don't think she always did.
Yeah, I can't remember the timeline of what happened earlier in this.
But what I'm confused about is she's talking about Angie leaving her. If this is Maria of
86.
1983, 83 or 84. Let's just say this is like 3 or 4 years before. Or 2 or 3 years before. Say this is 1983. And Maria is talking about all of her friends, Sakutaro, and all the chess pieces and all of her stuffed animals. And she said Angie was the last person to leave her. My question is, how does 1983 Maria know about the Angie...
Future Angie.
Future Angie, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless 1983 Maria dreamt up future Angie as a friend.
Maybe.
And that future Angie, the chess piece Angie, exists because Maria dreamt her up.
Ooh. I kind of like that.
Because in order for Maria of the past to know about future Angie, she must have had to know that there would be a future Angie, and perhaps the future Angie that we're being shown is the future Angie that Maria imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this stuff with Angie in the future is all Maria's imagination before she was killed on Rokenjima.
It could be. That's definitely a very interesting theory.
I don't know. Maybe it could be simpler. It could be just that somehow the past Maria and the future Angie somehow met through this world of witches and somehow knew each other. I don't know. But that's just a random theory I was thinking of.
The way I took it at, like, immediate face value was that she, as a witch, is able to like go back in time and stuff. So this is still the same Maria that did everything before that we've seen, you know, got yelled at in the classroom by Angie and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's just like gone further back in time. I'm not sure. It was one of the lines that she said that made me think that, but I forget what it was.
Oh, so this is Ghost Maria just looking or thinking about her past now?
I'm not sure. Let's keep moving and see if they explain it.
There's too many people existing at the same time.
Yeah, this is a lot to handle.
サクタロもみんなも一緒だもん。ウリュウマリア大好き。もう人間なんかにマリアの世界には誰も立ち入らせないよ。マリアージュ・ソルシエールはマリアとベアトリーチェだけの二人きりの同盟。
And if people in the comments, if by the end of this we still haven't figured it out, and if people in the comments know or think there's a reasonable explanation, just mention there's a reasonable explanation. If it's spoilers, don't say what it is, but if it's not spoilers, feel free to point it out. But if there is a reasonable explanation, I'd be curious to know if there is.
もともとベアトもエンジェを加えるのには反対してたし、これでいいんだもんね。エンジェはまだ幼すぎたんだよ。エンジェのことはまた仲良しになれるまで当分を忘れていていいと。マリアがまた元気を取り戻せたら一緒に遊べばいいよ。それまで僕たちみんながずっとそばにいるからね。ありがとう、サクタロ。みんな。
Then I once again regained my former world. I regained the world where I wasn't lonely and where I was surrounded by many friends. As always, I didn't have any human friends at school, but my magic friends were always with me. Even during class, I could hear the rabbit band hiding in my pocket, talking together and giggling, and they sounded like they were having a lot of fun. Just listening to that added a lot of color to these lonely school hours. I made sure that my other friends, too, were always with me as long as Mama and the teacher wouldn't find out. When Mama told me to go play outside, I would secretly pack Sakutaro and Sasuke and the rest into my bag and play together at the library or somewhere. And when Mama was late coming home and I went shopping for dinner, I always went with them. The men working at the convenience store were always nice to Sakutaro. Sometimes they would even give me 2 extra things for free, one for me and one for Sakutaro. Whenever Mama found out, I would get in trouble for bringing Sakutaro and the rest outside. Whenever the teacher found out, I would get in trouble for bringing toys to school. The toxin must be strong in Mama and the teacher. That's why Sakutaro and the others just look like normal stuffed animals to them. After all, the men at the convenience store say hello to Sakutaro. Not all humans are worthless. There are a ton of people who, unlike Angie and Mama and my teacher, can say hello to magic friends like I can.
マリアちゃんかい。いらっしゃい。今夜もママは帰りが遅いのかい。
でもサクタロたちも一緒だから寂しくないの。ねえサクタロ。ウリュウ、今日はね、僕だけじゃないんだよ。他のお友達も一緒なんだよ。
おや、他のお友達かはどんなお友達が一緒なん？
今日はね、森の音楽隊のウサギさんたちも一緒。ほら、ポケットに入ってるの。
Mario began to line up 4 ceramic rabbit dolls on the register. As the owner of the shop looked at them with a smile, he signaled a part-timer with his chin. The sign on the other register that said closed was taken down, and the part-timer called for everyone to move over there. All the people in line behind Mario formed a new line over there instead.
そうかそうか。マリアちゃんにはお友達がいっぱいだね。ママも早く帰ってきてくれればいいのに。
ママはまたお仕事が忙しくて会社にお泊まりなの。最近はよく忙しくなるの。マリアと電話でお話しする時間も全然取れない。でも寂しくないよ。マリアにはサクタロたちがいるもんね。ウリュウ、ウサギの音楽隊のみんなも一緒だもん。ほら、キューキュー。
ウサギの鳴き声ってキューキューだったっけ？はて、そういや聞いたことないな。
After smiling at Sakutaro, who was poking his head out of her knapsack, she played around with the rabbit band on the register, making them frolic around. Even as he gazed at this heartwarming sight, the shop manager had a slightly pitying look on his face. This was apparently a family without a father, and where the mother had to work hard and couldn't come home very often. On top of that, it looked like this girl didn't even have any friends. As he watched this girl play around happily with her dolls and claim that she wasn't lonely despite everything, he couldn't help but feel a kind of compassion. And actually, this wasn't limited to him alone. Maria had become very famous in this shopping district.
マリアちゃん、たまにはおでんも食べなさい。卵とか練り物とか食べないと大きくなれないよ。
おー、クリームパンじゃダメ？ウリュウ、いろいろ食べないと大きくなれないよ。今日はおでんにしよう。おー、じゃあおでんにする。
そうしなさい。おじさんが多めに入れておくよ。からしいる？
ウリュウ、辛いのは苦手。
そうかそうか。じゃあこぼさないように持って帰りな。温かいうちが美味しいよ。
ありがとう。
She had planned on getting some sweet pastries for dinner like usual, but since Odin had been recommended to her, she would be having that tonight instead. This shopkeeper is the highest quality person in this entire visual novel.
Sorry, what did you say? I missed it.
I said this shopkeeper is the highest quality person in this entire visual novel.
He really is. Like,
everybody else is just trash.
Everybody else is greedy and just a terrible person.
And some no-name shopkeepers, the best
The
person.
nicest and the kindest person.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, one of the characters worked for a private military company that shot civilians, so...
Oh my gosh. Letting someone else determine the menu makes for an unexpected and interesting meal. Very often, Maria had to decide on her own what to have for dinner, so it was easy for the menu to get a little one-sided. So it felt fun to look forward to a meal she hadn't anticipated.
ウリュウ、おじさん、おまけしてくれてありがとう。
お家にいる他のお友達にもよろしくね。途中でつまみ食いしちゃダメだよ。まっすぐお家へ帰ってから
おじさん、ありがとう。
Maria held the bag with the Olden container high for all to see. Is my voice cutting out, or is it okay?
No, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
あれ、ウリュウ、どうしたの、マリア？ポケットに鍵がない。
Standing in front of the door to her house, Maria searched and patted all over her body. The key to the house wasn't there. She always methodically put it in the same pocket.
It's not the shopkeep, is it?
So there was no way she had put it in another pocket, but she searched her whole body just in case. It really wasn't there.
お財布を出した時に落とした？お財布を出してしまう時には途中でポケットを探った時にもちゃんと途中まではあったの。落としてなんかいない。
The late autumn wind had been made bearable by the thought of the heater that was waiting at home, but now that Maria had lost her key and had no idea what to do, she was really feeling it. But no matter how hard she searched, she couldn't find her key. She turned out all of her pockets and even tried taking off her jacket and hitting it, but to no avail. Of course, she also turned the knapsack Sakutaro was in upside down, but no key came out. Something that should have been there wasn't where it was supposed to be. The rose. Where is it?
Oh, that's right.
Why isn't the rose there when I didn't do anything wrong? Why isn't it? Why? Why? Maria stamped on the ground, cold and frustrated and angry. The bottom of her foot throbbed, but even so, it didn't lessen her frustration. Nai. But before long, bitter tears were pouring down her face. It wasn't her fault, so it was someone else's. But Maria didn't know who that someone else was and could do nothing but continue to let out a moan of anger.
ウリュウ、きっと途中で落としたんだよ。探そう。来た道を戻って探そう。せっかくおでん買ったのに、卵とかおまけしてもらったのに。
This chapter will show you why Rosa is the best mother.
I can't tell if that's sarcastic or not.
You'll see if it is or isn't.
Alright.
マリア、悔しいけど探そう。誰も悪くないよ。
Searching for the rose. Maria finally lent an ear to Sakutaro's words and began to plod back the way she came. The wind was colder than it had been, and it felt like blowing in through the gaps in her jacket despite her.
ウリュウ、しっかり足元を見て探そう。そして早くお家に帰って暖房で温まりながらおでんを食べよう。きっと美味しいよ。ない。ない。
As Sakutaro encouraged her, Maria searched for the key. But she made it all the way back to the convenience store where she'd bought the odin. She hadn't found it. Just in case, she asked the man at the convenience store whether they'd found a dropped key, but they hadn't found anything. One more time, she returned home, paying close attention to the area around her feet, but still, she didn't find it. She was no longer frustrated enough to stomp her feet, but the hot tears dripped down her face. The odin was stone cold. Even though the man at the shop had said to eat it while it was hot, she hadn't been able to. He had given her so much extra stuff for free.
ウリュウ、泣かないで。ママは今夜帰ってこないんだよ。頑張って探そう。なんで見つからないの？マリア、泣かないで。頑張って探そう。マリア。
Maria was no longer able to hold back her tears, sobbing, clutching Sakutaro, and with the odin bag in her hand, she returned once more down the road she had come by. Perhaps because it was now later at night, and more houses and stores had turned their lights off by now, it was even darker and harder to search than before. And once again, without finding the key, she returned to the convenience store.
マリアちゃん、鍵まだ見つからないのかい？
鍵ない。
お母さん、今日は泊まりだっけ？鍵ないとお家入れないの？
入れない。
そりゃ困ったね。交番には行ってみた？届いてるかもしれないよ。
ママがおまわりさんに話しかけられてもお話ししちゃダメって言った。
What? What's going on?
そりゃまたどうして？
She's about to drop a bomb, isn't she?
It was probably because Rosa felt guilty for making such a young girl as Maria watch over the house by herself, and because she knew that this was not as socially acceptable. So she had indoctrinated Maria into changing the store she had bought things at so that she didn't catch the eyes of adults, and saying no more than a greeting to policemen even if they talked to her. Maria had obediently done as she was told, instead of considering why she had to do that. Honestly obeying because her mother had told her so was far more important to her. But the manager of the convenience store probably didn't think of it that way. Naturally, seeing such a young girl being forced to watch over the house alone and so frequently would cause anyone to worry. And then, after making the round trip between her home and the store once more and arriving at the convenience store for a third time, a policeman was there.
あの子です。マリアちゃん、鍵見つかったかい？
見つからない。
お嬢ちゃん、お名前は？
The policeman asked her name, but Maria didn't answer.
お母さんにおまわりさんとお話ししちゃいけないって言われてるの。大丈夫だよ。おじさんは怖くないよ。お嬢ちゃんは晩ご飯は食べた？買
ったけど、お家に入れないから食べられない。
お母さんはどうしてるの？今日は帰ってこないの？お仕事？お母さんの会社の連絡先。
Maria hung her head limply. She didn't understand why the policeman was getting mad at her. No, he probably wasn't getting mad at her, but if this reached her mother's ears, she definitely would be in trouble. Even if she didn't understand the reason why she would be in trouble, she at least understood that much. But the policeman wouldn't let Maria go, and her head was swimming from hunger. The policeman noticed that and it was decided that they could talk as they ate in the police box. I was taken to the police box. I had my own heated in a microwave oven, and there were even salty rice cakes and a hot tea brought out for me. I had been told not to talk to policemen, but as I answered questions about Sakutaro, I started to feel like he wasn't a bad person, and I wouldn't be able to return home anyway, so I didn't know what to do, so I told him Mama's work phone number, which I wasn't supposed to tell anyone, and was told to use it only in a very, very serious situation. In the tatami room inside the police box, as I ate the odin that was so hot it felt like it would burn me, I watched the policeman making the phone call and lazily thought, I'm probably going to get in trouble.
Maria, Mama ni okorareru kana? Uryu.
He must have been listening to the phone ring for a very long time. With the receiver up to his ear, the policeman looked at the clock and grumbled.
営業時間終えちゃってるから出ないのかな。あ、もしもし、もしもし、有限会社アンチローザさんで。こちら、小松川警察署千本桜駅前交番で。う大館じゃないや。後宮社長さんはいらっしゃいますか？
Isn't a daikon a radish?
Is it? That would make sense.
I think it's spelled differently.
It's a misreading of Ushirome kanji. The officer mistook the last kanji miya for kan. This would have also caused him to pick the wrong reading for that kanji due to the existence of the word daikon magistrate.
Oh, magistrate. Huh.
はい。休暇中？
Ah.
はい。
I knew
社
it.
長は昨日から3日間休暇になってます。どういったご用件で？
いや。それで、どちらにおられるか分かり、連絡先とか聞いてたりしませんかね？
ちょっとお待ちいただいてよろしいですか？ねえ、誰か社長の旅行先聞いて、連絡先。彼氏と札幌カニ食い放題って聞きました。いいなあ、寒いとこだと自然と2人の距離も縮まるのよね。連絡先は聞いてないよ。
I was wondering.
もしもし、札幌に行ってるそうですけど、連絡先まではちょっとご伝言しますか？
そうですか。参ったな。じゃあ、もし連絡がつきましたら、こちらから。
After that, I was taken to the police station, which was bigger than the police box, and they said I could spend the night there. And they asked me all kinds of things about myself. A lady who called herself the district welfare officer came by and asked about various things, and she said to me, "Oh, kawaii, Koto." You
It's a little
poor thing.
different.
When I heard that, I learned for the first time.
マリアって
Oh, kawaii good.
かわいそうだったの？ウリュウ。
One second.
マリアってかわいそうだったの？
I just wanted to hear what she had said.
Kawaii sodatta no?
Yeah.
そんなことないよ。マリアは幸せ。ほー。
And Rosa came back. Maria was told to go to her room, but on her way back from the bathroom, she hid by an entrance to the living room and listened in on the exchange. The person who had come to visit was the female district welfare officer who had asked Maria very questions the other day.
そういう押し付けは困りまマリアは心が純粋すぎて繊細だから無神経な子がいたら傷つけられてしまうんです。余計なおせっかいはやめてください。
でもね、お母さん、そんなに繊細な子ならなんで一人で家に放置しておくの？お母さんが一緒にいてあげるべきなんじゃないですか？
なるべく一緒にいるようにしています。そんなことあなたに指図される覚えはありません。
そうですか。この辺のご近所ではとても有名ですよ。
Oh.
お宅のお嬢さんが夜頻繁に買い物や食事に来るってみんな気にしてて気を使ってくれてたんですよ。
どうしてうちの子だとわかるんですか？子供なんて街中にいくらでもいるじゃないですか。勝手にうちのマリアだと決めつけないでください。夜に出歩く子供だってたまにはいるでしょう。それらが全てうちの子だという証拠でもあるんですか？
ライオンのぬいぐるみを抱いた女の子がよく夕食を食べに来る、買いに来るって、
Yeah.
商店街でもとても有名だったんですよ。
What the fuck? You just sold out Sakutaro.
みんなマリアちゃんのことを思って大切にしてくれてました。時には夜道は危ないからと自宅まで送ってくれる方もいたんですよ。
ライオンのぬいぐるみなんてどこにでもあり、自宅まで送るなんて余計なお世話です。マリアを誘拐するつもり？マリアに構わないで。マリアは私の子です。私が育ててます。おかしな施設に入れるつもりもまるでありません。余計なおせっかいはやめて。
ウリュウ、ライオンのぬいぐるみって僕のこと？ 大丈夫だよ。怒られるのはマリアだよ。サクタロは関係ないよ。
Maria hugged Sakutaro, continuing to watch her mother fearfully.
私もマリアと毎日一緒にいられたらと思います。
No, she
でも
doesn't.
シングルマザーですから働かなくちゃならない。
Work on
And you have to
vacation
go-
eating crabs with your
Go on
boyfriend.
vac- Yeah,
私はこう
like
見えても会社の社長ですから社員の生活も背負っている。一年中仕事で忙しいんですよ。休む暇だってないんです。
そうでもこの3日間お休みだったんでしょ？
休みなんかじゃありません。私はずっと会社で泊まりがけで仕事をしていました。他の頼りない社員では片付けられない案件が私には山積みなんです。
どうしてそんな嘘つくの？
Quit your bullshit.
あなたの会社の人が3日間お休みを取ってますって言ってるのよ。彼氏さんと北海道に行ってきたんでしょ？娘さんを3日間も置いて。
彼氏なんて知りません。北海道なんて知りません。どうしてそんなデタラメ言うの？どうしてなんか証拠でもあるの？何よあんた、勝手に人の家のことに口を出さないでよ。私はマリアを愛してるのよ。私には私なりの愛し方
I
が
have
あるの
my
よ。
own way of
勝手
loving
に口出さない
her.
でよ。
Wow.
私は旅行になんて行ってないわよ。仕事してたのよずっと。マリアに1秒でも早く会いたくて仕事を少しでも早く片付けようと一生懸命会社に泊まり込んでずっと
Whoa.
知らない
Jeez.
北海道なんて知らないわよ。勝手なこと言わないで。
Oh my.
もう帰ってよ。何なのよあんたは。帰って。
Rosa raged, her hair flying wildly. She stood up with such a force that her teacup fell over, and far louder than that noise was the sound of her beating the table with both hands. When faced with this rage that could accurately be described as wide-eyed derangement, the female welfare officer couldn't help but be taken aback. And the same went for Maria, who was secretly watching this from the hallway. She had seen her mother enraged several times before, but she had never seen her go this berserk with anger. Seeing this, Maria was sure this was no longer her mother. It was some other evil being that was possessing her mother's body. And then, the evil being discovered her. Maria learned that she was being reflected in the evil being's eyes. Her mind went blank, and she felt as though her field of vision was racing off into the distance.
Oh no.
After fiercely closing in on Maria, Rosa mercilessly bore down on her small shoulders, and dropped her gaze onto the stuffed animal Maria was holding, Sakutaro.
マリア、あなた、あれだけお外にそれを持って行ったのね。
ウリュウ、マリアは悪くないよ。僕がついていくって言ったの。違うよ。マリアが寂しいから勝手にサクタロを連れてったの。だからママ、サクタロは悪くないの。ウリュウ、マリア、サクタロは悪くないよ。サクタロは悪くないよ。
The brunt of Rosa's anger was aimed not at Maria, but at the lion stuffed animal Maria was holding. A girl came shopping in the middle of the night, always clutching a lion stuffed animal. Because of that, she had become well known in the shopping district.
ぬいぐるみ持ってっちゃダメって言ったでしょ。どうしてあんたはママの言うことが聞けないのよ。どうしてよ。どうしてママの言いつけがちゃんと守れないのよ。
With every single word, she stamped her heel and banged furiously on the wall. Admittedly, she wasn't making direct contact with Maria. However, the violence of that harsh sound certainly beat against her.
お母さん、おやめなさい。
話してよ。話せって言ってんでしょ。
The welfare officer had come back to her senses and put Rosa in a full Nelson. But the instant Rosa was touched, she went wild, furiously throwing the welfare officer off. She hit the table and fell to the ground. The teacup on the table smashed on the floor, making a violent sound.
マリアは悪くないよ。僕が悪いの。だからマリアを叱らないで。サクタロを連れてったのはマリア。サクタロは悪くないの。サクタロは悪くないの。だからサクタロをそんな怖い目で見ないで。マリアを叱らないで。マリアを叱らないで。ウリュ
あんた、さっきから何をやってるの？あんた、 そのお人形さんごっこ外でもやってたの、お店の人の前でもやってたの。だから覚えられちゃうんでしょ。少しは考えろこのバカ。なんであんたはそう大バカなのよ。正直におっしゃいな。お外でお買い物をするとき、ママに内緒でいつもそのぬいぐるみを持ち歩いてたのね。
ウリュウ。
その変なぬいぐるみ語をやめなさい。ぬいぐるみじゃなくあなたの言葉で喋りなさい。
サクタロはぬいぐるみじゃないよ。マリアの友達だよ。ぬいぐるみって言わないで、言わないで。
はいはい、わかったわ。サク太郎だったわね、名前。ママに内緒でそのサク太郎人形を持っていつもお買い物に行っていたのね。
Maria admitted it honestly. If she hadn't admitted it, then Sakutaro would have said something to take the blame. So by admitting it right away, she was protecting her small friend.
サク太郎だけ？他には？まさか学校にも何か変なのを持って行ってる？
お母さん、お嬢さんは悪くないでしょう。その質問をおやめなさい。
あんたは黙ってなさい。私と娘の話でしょ。ほらマリア、ママの目を見て話をしなさい。ママの質問にお返事は？
サク太郎だけじゃない、ウサギのみんなも一緒。
今も持ってるの？
Maria fished around in her pocket and pulled out those 4 ceramic rabbits with her tiny hands. The rabbits were her precious friends who could go to school with her in Sakutaro's place. But when Rosa saw that, she shook her head slightly as though dizzy. In Maria's communication booklet, a note had been written that Maria was apparently bringing toys to school and playing with them. A communication booklet is a notebook in which elementary schoolers in Japan take to school with them and used as a short message communication tool between parents and teachers. For instance, the students would be told to write down information that parents need to know about the next day of classes. Parents can use them to keep teachers informed of lost items, health issues, or requests that their child skips gym classes. And because children tend to go to school in groups, notices of absence or lateness can also be written in them in the booklet handed to the group. And had requested Rosa to give her home instruction to try to prevent this. But Rosa had dismissed the teacher's comments as fault-finding and on the contrary had phoned the school to make a complaint of her own, saying that there was no way her child would bring toys to school. For nearly an hour she had shouted at the vice principal to stop making false accusations about her daughter. To a certain degree, the school grasped that Maria was a pitiful girl. They knew that the small toys she brought in were her only friends, so they had done their best to overlook it. But when the other students caught sight of them, some of the boys started complaining that only she was allowed to bring toys, and the school had racked their brains on how to cope with this. They had tried to gently send a warning by way of the mother, but after Rosa's overreaction, even Maria's teacher had decided to overlook at it. But now Rosa knew. She had been the one who was wrong, and her daughter really had been bringing toys into school, and the school had seen the sorry sight of her bringing toys into school and playing with them as her only friends. To Rosa, who knew her daughter was a little different from normal children, having this peculiar side of her daughter exposed and found fault with was more unbearable than anything. Do you know why she was a little different from normal children and why she has a peculiar side, Rosa? Do you know why?
Because you're a terrible parent.
So she howled. She raged. The welfare officer tried to cut between Rosa and Maria again, but she only met with Rosa's wrath again. Rosa once again threw the woman off with a face like a demon, and when even that failed to curb her anger, she stomped on the ground over and over again so forcefully that it seemed like she might break through the floor. Then, after seeming to come back to her senses just for a second, she suddenly froze her rough breathing and asked Maria,
マリア、そのウサギの音楽隊はマリアの大切なお友達？そう、4人もお友達がいてよかったわ。
As she said that, Rosa took one of the rabbits from Maria's hand. Then she shoved it in front of Maria's eyes so she could see it very well. It was a cute little doll, like a chess piece of a rabbit holding a trumpet. She slowly lifted it into the air. Of course, Maria and Sakutaro's eyes also followed it. And then, with a speed that the eye couldn't follow, she hurled it against the wall. She had half imagined that this was the worst possible thing that might happen. So she instantly realized what had been done, so Maria let out a short, despairing scream. It was in pieces. It had been small and sturdy, but not enough to accept her mother's fierce rage.
ママの言うことをちゃんと聞かないから、一つ壊れちゃったわ。今後、ママの言うことを守らないたびに、また。 覚えておきなさい。
あなたそんなことするなんて母親ですか？そんなことしてお嬢さんが傷つかないと思ってるんですか？
マリアが傷つく。私も傷ついているのよ。
Go fuck yourself.
私の傷は誰が責任取ってくれるのよ。
Go fuck yourself.
誰が？あんたは黙っててって言ってるでしょ。
Impale yourself on a fence post.
やめてママ。
Wouldn't be the first
悪
time.
いのはマリア。おばさんを怒らないで。マリアは悪くないよ。僕が悪いの。マリアを怒らないで。うりゅうりゅうりゅうりゅ。
そのぬいぐるみごっこをやめろって言ったでしょ。だいたいね、気持ち悪いのよ。ぬいぐるみがお友達ってあんた今年でいくつよ。
I wonder why she doesn't have any friends. I wonder who isn't letting her have friends.
何歳よ。こんなの布と綿の気持ち悪い下手くそなぬいぐるみじゃない。こんなのしか友達いないのあんた。こんな化け物のぬいぐるみとお友達ごっこしてる暇があったらちゃんとした人間の友達を作りなさいよ。
Excuse me? Who told her not to go out?
なんであなたにはいつまでもお友達ができないのよ。そんなんだからいつまでもクラスで変わり者扱いされてバカにされて。もうほんとしっかりしていい加減にして。こんなぬいぐるみ遊びもう卒業しちゃってよ。
うりゅうりゅう。
だからそのぬいぐるみごっこをやめろって。
返して。サキタロウ返して。うりゅうりゅうりゅう。
Mama grabbed hold of Sakutaro's head and snatched him from me. Then she smashed him against the wall over and over.
やめろっつってんのよ。そのぬいぐるみごっこをやめろっつってんでしょ。こんなぬいぐるみがあるから。だからあんたはいつまでも友達を作らないのよ。だから一人だけクラスで浮いてておかしな子扱いされるんでしょうが。こんなぬいぐるみあげなきゃよかった。こんな気持ち悪いぬいぐるみあげなきゃよかった。
やめて。サキタロウ返して。サキタロウ返して。サキタロウはマリアのお友達なの。親友なの。サキタロウさえいれば他には何もいらない。だから返して。返して。
For some reason, my frantic request just added oil to the fire of Mama's anger. As I pulled on Sakutaro, trying to take him back, Mama pushed my arm aside, and in a bizarre way she stuck her fingernails on both hands deep in Sakutaro, twisting him. The red scarf, which I had carefully wrapped for him every day, came undone and fell to the floor. Sakutaro, who had been so precious to me, he was crumpled, twisted, and torn out with fingernails so much. He was twisted in pain, his face grimacing so sadly that then Mama's fingernails found a stitch on his neck and tore it. With the fingernails of both hands, she tore him apart. In that instant, Sakutaro's yellow cloth and the cotton inside burst apart. It looked almost like moist cotton candy.
りゅう太郎マリアサク太郎おりゅう太郎太郎
The crumpled yellow cloth and the cotton candy that was flowing out were thrust right in front of my eyes. Then, through Mama's face, the evil being stated it clearly.
サク太郎は死んでしまいました。
What? What? Hold on. What's happening here?
Maria is fucking going insane.
マリア泣くんでない。
アトリーチェ、ベアトリーチェ。
サク太郎は良き友人であった。そなたがそれを忘れぬ限り常にそなたと共にある。だからな、
生き返らせて。ベアとはいろんな魔法が使えるんだもんね。サク太郎だって生き返らせられるよね。
無論サク太郎がわらわの家具だったならそれもたやすい。しかしサク太郎はそなたの家具だ。わらわにそれは難しい。
難しいってことは無理じゃないんだよね。生き返らせて。無限の魔法で生き返らせて。
実はな、サク太郎のよりしろはローザの手作りのぬいぐるみであったろう。そのローザがサク太郎を否定した。母にその生を許されなかった命は存在できぬのだ。
Beatrice's words were feeble, because she knew that no matter what the excuse, it would not be enough to calm Maria and make her accept it. But she had to communicate the painful truth to her disciple and close friend. She had tried to tell her the fact that even with all of her own magic, even she could not revive Sakutaro.
そなたがサク太郎の存在を強く信じる限り、その魂が消え去ることはない。だからマリア、どうか悲しむな。今もほら、すぐそこでサク太郎が微笑んでいると信じるのだ。
やだサク太郎を生き返らせてくれなきゃ。やだ
諦めよ。サク太郎を蘇らせる魔法はない。そしてそれでもなおサク太郎がそなたの親友であり続けることを強く信じよ。その力が。
そんなの魔法じゃない。サク太郎が生き返らなきゃ嫌だ。ママの手作りだからダメなの。どうしてママはサク太郎を作ったの？マリアにプレゼントするためじゃないの？マリアのお友達にするためじゃないの？なのになんでママは自分で作って自分で壊したの？どうしてママは自分で産んで自分で壊そうとするの？わかんない。ママが憎いよ。悔しい。サク太郎がそうされたようにママをねじり上げてやりたい。爪を立てて引き裂いて布地と綿にしてやりたい。悔しいよベアトリーチェ。サク太郎。
From the darkness behind Maria's back, two massive jet black arms crept out, coiling around Maria as she sobbed in anger. Then massive fingernails stuck into Maria's cheek, chest, and stomach. Maria could not see them, but Beato could. Anger and sadness without any place to go will tear you apart. Beato knew that. She could see that, yes, and then those massive arms were Maria's own. His fingernails started slowly to dig into her chest and stomach. With their immense size and strength, those arms would probably tear Maria into bits easily. But Maria herself couldn't notice. Drowning in a sea of her own tears, she couldn't notice that her own arms were trying to tear apart her own chest.
悔しい。サク太郎がどうしても生き返らせられないならマリアは復讐したい。ママを同じ目に遭わせてやりたい。サク太郎と同じ目に遭わせてやりたい。ベアトリーチェ、そのための魔法を教えて。ママをやっつける魔法を教えて。
その言葉は本心。
ママを殺してやる。あれはママじゃないよ。ママに取り付いた悪い魔女だ。ママの魔女を殺してやる。
よかろう。その力をそなたに与えよう。心美しきそなたが自らに引き裂かれるくらいなの。そなたにその苦しみを与えた心なき母こそがよほど引き裂かれるに値する。教えようぞ。魔女の世界を 光さすことなき深淵の奥底。
サクタロ、サクタロ。みんな嫌い嫌い大嫌い。ママも嫌い、エンジェも嫌い。みんな大嫌い。